Welcome, welcome, welcome to CodeBusters, sponsored by LACUE. The first thing that you need to do is make sure that you sign in. You can go to educatoralexander.com/sign-in, or you can go to the little web links box in the bottom right-hand corner, click sign in, and click browse to. So you can sign in. That's the only way that you can get your COU certificate. I will remind you at the end, because I know people come in to sign in as well. And we do have an evaluation at the end. Today's webinar is brought to you by LACUE, the Louisiana Association of Computer Using Educators. You may want to join us if you're interested in technology at all. We are a free organization and you get many resources. For example, this webinar. We do have an annual conference. We are on our 32nd year for the annual conference. It is December 7th through 9th, 2016 at the Hyatt Regency in New Orleans, Louisiana. And you can find more information at our brand new website at lacue.org. This is also sponsored by Educator Alexander. You are here to learn about coding. We have the CodeBusters themselves, Meredith, Angela, and Pam, and they're going to introduce themselves in a minute. And I am your host, Desiree Alexander, aka Educator Alexander. I'm going to go ahead and give this over to our CodeBusters. I cannot wait to hear this information. I want you to know a couple of things that you can do while you're listening. You see the chat box in the left-hand corner. You can go ahead and chat at any time, ask questions, anything that you want to know. They will either answer questions during or after, and they'll let you know that. But you can go ahead and type questions, have conversations. We want it to be a very lively, interactive session for you. And if you have something that's just dire, I want you to look in the middle of your screen at the top. You see a little man with his hand raised. You can click that, and what it does is raise your hand, and it lets us know that you have something to say or something to ask. So what I'm going to do at this time, without further ado, is to turn it over to the CodeBusters to introduce themselves.
Hey, thank you, Desiree. This is Meredith Boullion. I'm a technology facilitator for Calcasieu Parish. Happy to be here.
This is Angela Kiser. I'm from Calcasieu Parish. I'm very excited to share our coding ideas with you guys today. If you take a look at our agenda, you'll notice that we're going to really start out with some rationale and some reasons why we code. We're going to be looking at some websites, some resources, some apps, and I think one of our favorites is coding gadgets, and then we'll close it all up with some questions. And I think Pam needs to introduce herself.
Good evening. I'm Pam Nicholson, and I am also from Calcasieu Parish, and I am one of the other tech facilitators in our district.
All right, it looks like I'm going to start us off with our presentation. Let me get the screen going here. All right, we're going to just talk to you a little bit about why we code. I really like these two graphics, especially the one by Sylvia Duckworth. She gives just a fantastic just visual of why we need to code with our kids. You know, it is a different language, and we need to expose them to different languages. I know that the state of Florida has recently decided that in lieu of the traditional French or Spanish, the children can now take a coding or programming language as their secondary, their secondary language. Kids learn faster about coding when they're younger. They just accept, and we're in a generation of digital natives that they're a click generation, so they're just going, and it encourages critical thinking, it encourages problem solving, and kids are not afraid. You know, they're not like our generation. They're so apt to, okay, that didn't work. Let me try this again. We've noticed that coding kids are strong in mathematics, and there is a trend out there that failure is an option, especially when it comes to coding, because if it doesn't work, you have to dig yourself out of that hole. And that's what I love about coding is, the kids are just, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to try it again. It also encourages collaboration and teamwork. If I can't figure it out, somebody's going to help me figure it out. We also understand that we are in a generation that the students who are graduating from college with a computer science degree are going to earn 40% more than the average college student graduating. And their jobs are now being created, or they haven't even been created yet. And so we're looking at that trend of, we got to produce these students so that when they get to that level, that they're ready to join those classrooms and become productive citizens of the world, not just the United States. We also noticed that there are over 2,000 jobs here in Louisiana, and we have about 318 computer science graduates. I think that's something that we need to really look at. We need to start pushing this in our state and get these kids graduating with these computer science degrees so that we can compete globally in the United States. If we want to go ahead, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, so I'm going to allow Pam to talk to you about some of the coding things that we think is a great, some great beginner strategies.
So when we got into coding, one of the things that was kind of different for me, and I won't speak for the other ones that are with us, but my background, as we shared with you, is to be a technology facilitator and to work with training teachers in the regular classroom to take their regular ed curriculum and incorporate technology there. So when we get into coding, it wasn't something that I had a ton of expertise in or experience in. And I'll kind of date myself and tell you, my senior year of high school, I took a coding, well, it was a computer science class. And, we thought we were all that because we wrote the program so that the computer did the Christmas tree and it printed it out on the dot matrix printer. Yeah, with the little funny stuff on the edge that you got to tear off the paper. So that's kind of like my experience. Or we made the little program run that said Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And so when we got into this and we started looking at the research that was coming out and we started trying to wrap our hands around it, it was new territory for all of us. And we jumped into some coding websites, and and we tried to start that with students, and we struggled for a while. And so what we came across, though, were some pre-coding activities. And notice on the screen it says no devices required, because that was the whole thing. This was looking at coding from the standpoint of not tying it necessarily at the beginning to technology. And so this summer, we really kind of took this idea and really did that as a jump start. The first activity that we found a couple of years ago was from the curriculum was from Computer Science Education Week, and it was on cup stacking. And basically what it involved is and I'm going to take you to the actual link, and we're going to provide our resources for you. But when you go to that link, what you will see is the entire curriculum. And in that curriculum, what you'll see is the fact that what we have is the whole lesson plan. And what you'll see is as you go through it, it introduces this idea. It starts out from the beginning and gives you everything you need. But the premise of it is that what you want to teach your kids is that coding is actually, the idea of it has its own language. And so what you want to do is in that language, you have to know the language and you have to know the code. And so what you do is you teach your students that for this activity, the certain commands that they have are right here. Pick cup up, put cup down, step forward, step back. And then what you do, turn the cup right 90, turn it left 90. And so the kids are given one of these pictures to look at, and what they're to do is they're to build that. And when they build it, they have to write the code for it. And then what they're going to do is they're going to give the code to their partner, and their partner's going to have to try to reconstruct it. And so it's a very tangible and very hands-on way to help kids begin to understand that the thing about coding is that there has to be a precise language, and that every command means to do exactly one thing. And so it's been one of the neatest activities that we've done with them. And we also we came up with, right here, I've shared the link in the presentation of the PowerPoint that we actually used to go through the class and through stepping through it with the kids. Another thing that we did, and you can kind of see here on the far right, this is the little Dixie cups and the cup stacking that we did in the papers that the students had to go through it. If you look at this center section, this is one of our activities that Angela helped create this summer, and it became a great hit with the kids, and that it was just a kinesthetic coding challenge. And basically what you see is basically Angela, and with the help of her family, took several tarps and rotated off squares and then set up a path. And the whole idea was what you had to do is the path had obstacles. And so you had to tell the child that was trying to navigate from one end to the other how to navigate. And you had to use certain commands to be able to do it. And so what seemed to be a simple mission, the kids soon found out, because they would say, go forward. Well, the kid might not go in the right direction because they weren't specific enough. They didn't have a set of language or a set of instructions that the others could follow without any disagreement or without any confusion. And then on the far left right here, this happens to be a game that we found on Amazon. And the game is called CodeMaster. And it's really it's a fun game, and it's very addicting. When you start out, you think that you're not going to have, that it's not going to be hard. Because basically what you're to do is you're to take, and you're to try to get the guy or your player through the path, and you're only given a certain amount of steps that you can go forward or a certain amount that you can jump or slide, and so you have to use those tokens to program to achieve it. So it starts off very simple, but as you can imagine, as you get more into it, it does get increasingly more difficult, and the kids did enjoy doing that. And so this summer at Tech Camp, these 3 activities that you see, the cup stacking, the kinesthetic coding activity, and the CodeMaster logic game, that's what we did with our students for almost about an hour, hour and a half before we ever delved into the technology part of it, just as a means of getting them used to coding, getting them used to helping them understand what the language is all about. So I now am at this time going to stop sharing my screen and turn it back over.
All right, guys. We're going to share some of our apps, websites, things that we find that are successful with students in Calcasieu Parish, even teachers in Calcasieu Parish. One of the sites that I truly love, and it is both a web-based application, and it is an app, is Tinker with a Y. Tinker is it's a curriculum, and it truly takes your kids through a coding curriculum, and it progressively gets a little more difficult for them. They do have a purchase that you can make, this curriculum that you can purchase. However, we've noticed that most of the activities we want our students to do is in the free play. If you go into Educators, it's gonna take you to the quick curriculum. It talks about how to start a camp. And of course, it's gaining popularity, and I hope it gains a little more popularity in Louisiana, especially in our parish. The Hour of Code, which is coming up in December. It is the same week as LACUE, but you can sign up for Hour of Code, and you can we can get Louisiana placed on that map of kids who are coding. If you go into free play, there's several different options of course, the Minecraft. But what I love about this Tinker, this free coding, is I can specifically gear it toward my students and their grade level. And the games here at the top, this is free play. And it takes them through, and we did this with some first grade teachers last week. We took them through Puppy Adventure. And when you go through Puppy Adventure, it is a block-based application that has some text to it. And it's like snapping Legos, and you go through its 15 lessons, and it shows them what loop looks like, but of course it uses a different word, repeat, and they've got a cute little game with Candy Quest that the kids just drag and drop, and they snap that in. It's a great, and there's also stuff for kids over that, over the age, the little small ones. I particularly like Code Commander, and I like Debugger, because Debugger is you have to find what's wrong with the code and fix it. And I absolutely love that. The code's written for you, but you have to figure out where it's going wrong. And let's see, if you go into the curriculum, I'll just show you curriculum, and then I'm going to probably hand it over. It has an elementary, a middle school. It gives you the first 6 lessons for free, but if you want to take the whole entire course, if you notice, it's $400 per classroom, but it allows you the first 6 true lessons for free. It is aligned. It has a great scope and sequence. Some of the things that Pam talked about with the coding, with the, I call it off-the-grid coding, some of those are based on that right there. You can find these activities embedded into their program. It's a great free tool to have. for your students, just to start out small. Sometimes you could even start your 8th graders out with, the beginner level, because it's just a fantastic way to do things. This next one I'm going to share with you is Made with Code. Made with Code was created to inspire teenage girls to code. And if you look around the screen, when you can see, these are some of the wonderful emoji that these teachers, first grade teachers, have created for themselves. We gave them an emoji challenge. The downside of the emoji challenge is that you will not find a little boy in the emoji project. Because we are trying to inspire girls to code, you're going to only find little girls. So I kind of pushed it to my teachers that I was working with, that maybe this is a May project. Maybe this is a special little project for that special lady, and they develop an emoji of that particular lady. And then, of course, there's a GIF or GIF, whatever you want to call it these days, a GIF maker, and they can make these fun little GIFs for themselves. You can also see that when you get on Made with Code free, of course, it's always free. It's got tons of resources, but there's tons of projects for not just little girls. Little boys can enjoy it too, but remember Emojify, it's not going to be a little boy body, it's going to be a little girl body. The other thing I like too, it's like that go girl mentality, is you're not going to find the princess or anything like that. You're going to find the astronaut, the artist, even the farmer, those kind of things. You're going to find those wonderful things. So it's like, girls can do anything kind of stuff. But there's some really cute games in here. One of the things that our campers loved was this one called Beats. And they were able to create a soundtrack using code, and some of them got really good at these beats that they created. They can slow it down, they can bring it up, they can embed beats within beats. It was so fantastic to hear what they were doing with this. And the best thing is it's downloadable, and it downloads into an MP3 file so that you have them. These emojis download into a JPEG, so you have those beautiful things that you can splash around the room. Made with Code is a great way to get your little girls interested in that coding. Let me go back to here. Let's see. I'm going to turn this over to Meredith now. She's going to talk to you about another discovery that we found that is fantastic.
Thanks, Angela. The one resource that I would like to share, I'm sorry?
The great.
We found we had kids as young as in kindergarten that were doing some Made with Code activities. I'm going to say your middle school, your upper elementary to even up to high school. But we had some kindergartens doing it. Does that answer your question? I think so. Okay.
Okay, you ready? Okay, you ready for some Mozilla? This is probably one of the best resources that I have found for educators when it comes to all things the web. It encompasses coding, it encompasses digital citizenship. It is a fantastic resource to check out, and it's all free. The first thing I want to share with you is on the Mozilla Learning Network is they have teaching activities. And these teaching activities are intended to teach students how to read, write, and participate on the web. These activities were created by teachers and educators, and they are broken down step-by-step lessons to deliver to students, and everything is already made. So when we things that you could have students do, it tells you the level, it tells you who developed it, it also tells you exactly what's going to be through. For example, when we went through this, we decided that we were going to create some content for our student campers over the summer. And one of the things with 9th or 10th graders was these back-to-school Write the Web activities. They're fantastic. When I click on it, I'll let you see what this looks like. You can see that they have the description where students can learn how to remix and write basic code through different activities through one of Mozilla's tools called Thimble, and we'll look at that in just a second. But these lesson plans are all created already. So the one that we decided to do is down here. You can see there are 4. My 6-word summer. And in this one, learners reflect on their summer break by remixing and editing text and HTML on an actual web page. And what I really like about this is that the web page is previewed so students can see the direct result of the coding, and it takes them step by step. And you can see that each of these different activities that are written are spelled out just like a lesson plan. So teachers at a glance can see what they need to do to prepare, what materials they need, the age level of the audience. And it really does take them step by step through the entire process. And you can see there's also a time limit. So it talks about how you could introduce the activity, how students can brainstorm the activity as well. And they also provide the link in the step-by-step instructions. So the idea with this one is students are remixing this project. So when I click today's activity link, it'll take us here. And so this is my 6-word summer. And you can see that there's a poem with a graphic in the background posted from the web. If I click this little symbol down here in the bottom right, and I click Remix, what it does is it loads it in their tool called Thimble. And Thimble is pretty amazing. You can see that here I have 2 sides to my screen. On the left, I have the coding, the editor, where students could actually get in to manipulate the code. And the great thing is on the right, they have a preview, so they can see the direct result of their manipulation of the code. And if you look inside the editor, it tells them this is a comment. Comments do not show up on your web page, and it gives the conversation, or it gives the instructions to students within this editor. So if I come down a little farther, you can see that I have the line by line. And if I click on my 6-word summer, we had our students do theirs on their tech camp. Okay, I come down a little bit farther. I can fix my R here. We could call it my summer. Oops, too many M's. You can see as they go in and they change these things in the code, they can see the result of those changes. So here they have the photo from Flickr. So our students were able to go in and we explained to them some Creative Commons laws and proper use of images. So a lot of the things that are inherent in building websites and so forth come embedded in these lessons. So they're great activities for more intermediate learners. They chose their own image. As you come down a little bit farther, this is where they changed their actual poem. There we go. And I can also not only preview it as it would look on a website, but if I click this, it shows me the mobile version. So they can see what the result is of their coding in both of those formats. Okay, so I like this because it enables them to be creative, and it enables them to see the background, the result of what the coding does directly. It is very cool. This is very neat. It is one of my favorite resources that we found. If we go back, we get out of Thimble, we go back to these activities for Mozilla. They also have what I thought this was really cute. We haven't tried this yet. This one is called Homework Excuse Generator Teaching Kit. And it's the same thing where they have an activity where you can remix, or your students can remix. And this is for 8 years and up. And it gives you all the supplies. And it also gives you the direct link. So you could have that link. You could probably even do a QR code for your kids if you wanted to do it that way as well. Or just let them go directly. You could write the link out. But again, it is a Thimble project where students can go in and they can manipulate the code. And this is the web page for this activity. And you click here. And look how, isn't that so funny? It's adorable. So then they can see how it works, and then they can go in and they can actually remix it and make it their own using Thimble. And there we go. And so you can read all the instructions here and all the comments to the coder. So they're actually getting to see the results of what they're doing. Which is pretty fantastic. So let's go back. The teaching activities are amazing. They're not all about coding, but they do have a lot for coding. They do have things for web literacy as well. I love this graphic. When you go to the graphic, let's say, for example, we want to find some lessons that they have on coding. If we click code, it'll narrow it down, and if you scroll down, it'll list all the related code activities that they have. This one is pretty funny. This one is Hack the News. I was a little hesitant to show our campers this year, maybe next year if we have a lot of the same ones come back, because in this one what they can do is they can go to a news website and actually change the HTML code so that the headline on that news page is manipulated to whatever they want it to read. Now, it won't manipulate it on the actual CNN website, and nobody else can see it, but they will be able to see it on their computer as they do it. The other thing I wanted to show you here with Mozilla, they have some leadership opportunities. If, for example, you are interested in starting a coding club at your school, they have all the resources to become a club captain. And the activities are all surrounded by the curriculum in which they've developed, which is pretty fantastic and extensive. So it's good for teachers, it's good for after-school clubs, it's great for libraries. Anybody who can meet with students to get this going, this is a great resource to get started. They do have a community where you can join and connect with others and other people who are doing the same thing around the world. Some of their tools to learn and teach the web include, this is that X-ray goggles where you can hack the news that we were just looking at. Thimble is the code editor, and I've not yet worked with WebMaker, so I can't really talk a whole lot about that, but it's something new to explore. Okay, so those are the Mozilla resources. The other resource that I'd like to share with you tonight is a site that we found that is just, it's fantastic. It's great. It's called Erase All Kittens. And what it is, it's a website that is a game. And through the game, players are forced to code to progress through the game. Now, I'm a little embarrassed to admit that I had to get my 12-year-old daughter to get me to this point in the game, because you see that little kitten on the ledge? The kitten on the ledge has to move through and make its way across all these obstacles. Now, when it gets to this ledge, it really can't go any farther, so the goal here is we want the kitten to fall off the ledge. So players are forced to fall off the ledge. It's really a cute story as well. We're going to skip the story part, and we're going to also skip the conversation. But when we get to this point, we can click Edit.
Voluptuous vegetables! You actually did it. Perhaps you could learn to code.
And in
This
here,
writing on the left is the code for your surroundings, shown on the right. Let's try changing the code. Click the black writing here.
so if I go in here,
Type your name.
I can type my name. And you can see what's
See how
happening.
changing the code changes your surroundings?
Well, she's
Keep
going to tell
typing
you.
to make the ledge long enough for you to reach the other side. You can write anything you want.
Oh, look, I don't want spelling mistakes. All right, so now I'm going to click Save. And now you can see I've made the ledge longer. I'm going to skip through this part. Oops, skip conversation. And so now the little kitty, hopefully I can make it over this gap. Oops. And now look how cute this is. Every time they go over a box, they save a kitten, and a little video plays. And so what happens is, it is really cute. The users can go through and, I don't want to say it tricks them, but it really does. It tricks them. It engages students and adults, because we've used this with teachers, and they've become a little obsessed with it, which is good. But it teaches them the code to manipulate the game as they play. And so it's another great resource. Okay, so those are a couple of things that that I wanted to share with you tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over now, because they're going to look at CodeBusters.
All right, so it's my turn again. I'm going to share with you now one of the resources that I've just introduced myself to. This is my new challenge for myself. It's called CodeBusters. It teaches Python. I'm trying not to be intimidated by all these words right here. With CodeBusters, let's let this load for a second here. You sign up for free, and it's everything you need to teach your students about coding, especially in the Python community. It gives them a great coding little platform. It does have a learning management system that I think is really great, that you can enroll your students into, and then you can track their progression. It automatically grades it, those kind of things. Your curriculum is right here, which I think, when we have direction, I think I'm less intimidated by these kind of things when they give me a direction of where I'm going, especially with coding, and where to bring my students. If you'll notice, there's always going to be some type of debugging activity. I really think this is for maybe the more advanced student, but you never know. You always have that one elementary student that could probably run with this. The other thing that I like about that I'm learning about CodeBusters is it's math based. So a math teacher can get these into her classroom, and the kids are not even realizing that they're doing projects based on math, and it actually has the math curriculum set up in it, so the teacher can know, okay, this is what I'm teaching today, and I'm going to let them explore the code, but it has grids in it. It has the coordinate plane. So I'm just now popping myself into this. It does have a drag to text feature, which those of us who are used to that drag and drop in the elementary world can get very comfortable with. But it's a great, it's similar to what Meredith showed you. You've got all the text right there, and they can run it and see what happens with their code. I'm just at the beginning stages, but I think this is the next step of for me is getting that Python under my belt. The next one I want to show you. Oh no, now it is Pam's turn. I'm going to turn that over to her.
Okay, guys, so hopefully one of the things that we kind of did when we divided this presentation up, we kind of started with several different arrangements of it, and then we kind of settled on going through this way that we've done it. And basically what we just did with you is we shared with you, first of all, our websites that our favorite websites that we've learned and that we've been using. And so now what we want to do is move a little bit into some apps that we found along the way. But one of the things that I want to share with you before we move to the apps is I want to share with you some of the place where you might be able to go and look at some of the projects that our kids have done during Tech Camp. And so, because that's what we keep referring back to. And so one of the things I'm going to do is right now I'm going to take you to that location. In a minute, when I get my window to pop back up, I'm going to drop this link into the web links for you to see, and then I'm also going to drop the link to our presentation so that you'll have time to go back and explore some of the tools that we've shared with you at a more leisurely pace. But like I said, you have the three of us here today, and so when you go to cpsb.org/page/276, what you're going to be looking for is the bottom two classes. Now, kind of to help you out, Ms. K's class would have been a couple of first graders through like second grade. Miss Julie and Miss Mitzi's class would have been mostly around the third grade, fourth grade mark. My class was mostly fourth and fifth graders. And then Miss Angela and Miss Meredith's class were sixth grade through high school. So that'll kind of give you a breakdown. These four classes represented 150 students who came and spent a week with us all day long from 8:15 in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And their Tech Camp cost included a touchscreen Dell laptop that they got and they took home. And so as part of that, we did a lot of coding, we did a lot of other activities. But when you go to our classes, for example, you just go to our class name and then you pick one of our students and then you click on Go, and you can see some of the activities that they did throughout the week. And so when you get in there, you'll see like Code Project 2. When we click on that, that's actually the one that Meredith, that shows you an example of their 6-word tech experience. And you know, you can look at it, and we talk about it. For these kids, this is like their Christmas tree. You know, I can remember that same excitement and trying to go home and convey to my parents how thrilled I was at what I had done. And I can remember my parents just kind of not really getting it. But it's the same thing. These kids were just super excited. And as we go in, Angela talked with you a little bit ago about how they liked the hour of code, and that was one of the projects that the beats. So even though a lot of those activities there were for the guys, you can see, I mean, that were designed for girls. You can see the one project that I pulled up was one that was designed around for the guys, and they really got into it. So again, you can see some other things. Even though this was a coding, we did a lot of coding in the camp. We did a lot of other things. Each of them designed something in that could be printed in Tinkercad using the 3D printer. And then some other things they did is every day they did a video blog about their tech camp experience. So again, just a way for you to be able to go and look at some of the projects that we've had our students do with us. And again, like I said, in a little bit, I'll make sure that I drop that link into the chat box so that all of you will be able to look at it. And you know, that kind of brings me to another thing that I wanted to share with you just real quick. I'm going to paste, nope, that would not be the right article that I'm sharing with you. I found, I think this is it right here. I found an article today, you know, of course, right when you're ready to make a presentation, it comes through. And it talked about graphical versus text-based coding. And I wasn't real sure what all that meant, you know, behind it, the technical aspect. But this is just an awesome article, because what it does is it kind of takes you through, you know, when we started and shared with you like Tinker and some of the other websites that are out there. One of the things that is all Tinker and Scratch, and those ones that are very popular, those are considered graphical coding applications, whereas the Python and the Mozilla, those are more the text-based coding. And so this article kind of talks to you about that balance and moving through those two types. And in that article, as you go down, one of the things that's really cool, there's some links to some other things, but in there was a link to, and I must have scrolled right past it, right here, websites helping kids learn to code. And so this had just the top, I think it was the top 10 or the top ones from the best websites from 2015. And it had code.org, it had Scratch and some of the more popular ones, but then had some of those other ones that you could use. So just some kind of good resources. Coding apps. Probably my favorite, and just kind of to give you a little bit of information about me, my experience a lot is with the middle school, upper elementary, middle school range. And so one of the ones that I fell in love with was called Sketch Nation. And when Sketch Nation came out, we've kind of been using Sketch Nation. Like one summer for camp, the kids got an iPad. And when they got the iPad, that's when we first started looking at it. And so I think that was about 2 summers ago. And, you know, so this past summer, we really didn't do a whole lot with it because of the fact that just because we were on the other devices. And so we really haven't taken a look at it in about a year or so. And recently what happened is they have gone through a very big push and a very neat and awesome development. And so what now they have come up with, and I can see that my app's not doing too good at sharing that part, so I'm just gonna exit out of that and just go straight to the website, because what I wanted to share with you now, not only is it an iPad app, it's an Android app, and now it's web-based. And so, I mean, they just have covered everything that you can imagine. And so what we're going to look at is right now, we will see Basically, I'm at Sketch Nation, and like I said, it's an app in the App Store, or it's also in the Android store, or you can actually play it now on the web. And so when you come, one of the first things you can do is if you just do click to play, you're actually going to be taken to the app, and basically what it's going to allow you to do is either play some games that have already been made, and that's what we did. That's how we started this, is we just let the kids go in and find some of the games that were featured and let them go in and play some of them that had already been created. And so you can just go in and it'll tell you what you want to do, and then you can go through and you can actually practice playing the game. And then once you've done, then you can actually click on Create a Game. And so you see what you're able to create here for free is side running, up jumping, side flying, up scrolling, and traffic. And then they have some other things, an adventure, platform, arena, lander, match 2, match 3. Now, within the last year, these bottom 5 are the ones that have become new. So before that, these were the ones, basically when we did it with our kids at Tech Camp, you could do the side running, the up jumping, the side flying, or the up scrolling. And traffic hadn't come out yet. So the kids have the ability to go in and notice select an action. Then it just kind of has them go through and begin to create their game. And so they can either draw their background, they can import it, they can pull in a graphic. It's up to them. They can draw their player, their obstacle, and then it takes them through step by step into making their game. And so then at the end, you have the ability to play your game. Now, what you can do, and guys, they have the ability to create an account. With Act 837 in our district, because this would be housed on the web and in the cloud, we don't promote making accounts for Sketch Nation. So what happens is that game just appears on the device that it was made. And so that's still what we did is what our teachers have done, because some of our teachers have even taken this idea and gone with it, is that they do what we call a gallery walk. So if they had 4 or 5 iPads and kids designed 4 or 5 games, then you have that game up on the iPad and the kids just walk around the room and play the game. And then, and then that way the iPad stays stationary for safety, and it's the kids that are moving, and they get a chance to experience it. But not only is it so cool to look at this from the standpoint of coding and making a game, but the other thing is when you come over here and you look at lesson ideas and you go into, notice they have categories: storytelling, multi-level games, exploring history, math games, computer graphics, coding. Now, one of the things that I thought about that would be so cool, because I did teach middle school science, if I would have had this in my classroom when we did the cell, how cool would it have been to let my kids design a cell game using the parts of the cell? And you could have gotten, I can just, the sky's the limit on how creative you could have gotten with this, because, you could have had the kids say, you've got to be, remember the parts. So the nucleus, that's the powerhouse of the cell. That's the brain that controls the activity of it. So the nucleus is going to be in control of making the cell journey through, and then you could have the background to be, that where it was traveling through. So just a whole neat thing. But when you come in here and you go like to storytelling through game creation, when you get here, guys, it tells you, it gives you a little bit of an overview about how you could do it, storytelling using the game description. And then it is just so neat to go in and look at some of the stories that kids have created using this environment. And so right here, it tells you, what they do is basically as you're playing the game, you notice down here, you will see at different times information pops up to tell the story. So right here it says, here's an example of a story element in the Wizard of Oz style game. When Dorothy walks over to Uncle, a story object, a text pop-up appears that drives the story. So see, when she gets to the uncle, Dorothy, there's a cyclone coming. So basically, Dorothy, you have to move Dorothy with the arrows through the game, but when you encounter the characters and you pass the character is going to tell part of the story. And so it just gave some more games down here about New Jersey or Egyptian goddesses. And I mean, just look at the details. And as you go through the one that's up on the screen now, you can see the Pharaoh going through the game, and every time he gets to something, a goblet or something, and collects it, he gets a little bit more information about the story or about the whatever it is that they're learning. So can you imagine who benefits from this? I mean, the child that designed the game benefits tremendously, because not only have they enhanced some gaming skills that they have, they've built in that content that they learn into the activity. And then the flip side of that is the student that comes behind them and plays the game, they're actually learning the content while they're focused on a gaming environment. So Sketch Nation has just been one of those apps that, I loved when it came out in the beginning several years ago, and now I am just so thrilled at how far it's come and how much it still continues to grow. The thing that amazes me is that this whole time it still remains free. And so as you go in, when I went to this, one of the things that I looked at is as we look at climate change in ancient Egypt and rainforest exploration. See, I'm getting so excited I get tongue-tied. Just all the student projects that kids have put up on the website for us to go through and to look at. So this is truly an amazing app that's come across since we started getting into this. And this was really kind of cool. At the very bottom, it talks about Sketch Nation versus other platforms, and it just kind of goes through and measures it up to other things. A lot of what is that we've used doesn't mean that for us we'll abandon our other things that we use, but it does kind of give us a nice chart to see what all this does and what all it has the ability to do. So one of the other things, guys, that I shared with you in the presentation, and it's linked right here, is I shared with you the planning guide for students. And what this is it should open up in just a second. This was the sheet that I made because remember I talked with you, I had probably that year 4th and 5th grade. It might have been 5th and 6th grade. But basically what this was the ticket to the app. And so basically it was the sheet that they opened up to begin to talk about how they were going to design their game, what kind of characters were they going to include in their game, and everything like that. And then once they had their ticket filled out, then we let them download the app and start designing it. It was amazing to watch the kids work on this. One of the things that I remember is one of the girls that would go home, and every night she would come back and show me part of what she had done in her game. And it was just amazing by the end of that tech camp how elaborate that game had become and how good she had done. So it seemed that we had a little technical difficulty opening that document, but before the end of the night, I'll make sure that it opens correctly and that it's right when I go to share you this presentation link. So now I am going to stop sharing and turn it back over.
All right. All right. So I want to share with you one of the newest apps that actually Apple has come out with, and of course this is what I'm playing with too right now. Kids Learn Xcode, and that's the code that is used to make the apps for Mac. So they started out with Swift, and I'm going to show you that. I should have showed you Swift first, but they started with Swift, which is very, very technical. It doesn't have any of the cute bells and whistles that other coding programs have. So I think they went back to the drawing board and they decided to make it more friendly for especially the younger kids. So this is called Swift Playgrounds, and it actually teaches in chunks. You have a whole shelf of of lessons that you go through, and it is a drag and drop. But if you'll notice, it's a drag and drop with the text related to it. And I wanted to show you a little video.
Under the LACUE commands, tap the big run button to see how it's working out. And add a few more lines.
I just want to show you the video. I'm hoping all of you are able to see it. But what you do here is you drag the little, you tap on what you want the little guy to do, and then you're able to move all of your text around. You can reset the page and you can play. So you're trying to get the little guy through the little maze, and it gives you the directions. It gives you some hints. It gives you, and you just simply run your code. It's very much like Tinker, very much like any of the other things that we've had already. But this is very, it's application based, and it's pretty cool. It gives some background. It gives some great tutorial for it, and you get to play these challenges throughout the whole entire thing. And if you'll notice, it takes you through, and his name's Bite, and he's cute and he dances afterwards, but it talks about commands. I'm right now in the process of learning how to create a function so that Bite will do exactly what I need him to do. I'm at that step right now with Mr. Bite, and it is challenging, but it is pretty fun once you get him doing what you need him to do. One of the exciting things I think is actually for students. You can have more than one student on this app. They can pick up the app and they can play it. It sets it off separately. It duplicates it, and the student can go through the process at the same time that another student's going through. So they can work on different paces, but they can you can duplicate, so you can have more than one student using Swift on one app, one particular device, an iPad. Here's what Swifty looks like. This is the coding for Apple products, and this is what they came out with first. They give you the first 2 chapters for free, and then each chapter after that has a cost to it. But if you see, it's very it's blank. For me, for an elementary teacher, looking through the eyes of my students, it's not very fun, because you don't have little characters interacting. It doesn't feel like a game. However, you are learning to code using Swifty. and it teaches you the language. It gets you highly involved. It almost feels like you're taking a college course when you're using this app. I recently found out, I don't know if any of you also, and I didn't put it on here, they also have an app called Javi that it teaches very much the same, like Swifty. It teaches JavaScript in the same format. It's a little green icon, and it's called Javi. But these are some of the apps that are maybe for the higher level students that are attempting to make some coding, their newest adventure. But it's out there, and I just wanted to show not the run of the mill, but these things that are out there that are more outreaching and grabbing those kids older than your elementary grades. So that's my 2 coding. I think we're going to switch it over to now we're going to do some gadgets, what I think is pretty fantastic.
So what we want to share with you are some gadgets that we kind of have really gotten interested in this summer, this past year. And the gadgets that we want to look at to talk with you about are they're called Spheros. And I'm not sure if you know anything about these or if you've seen them. But I'm going to play just a little bit of a quick introduction to the Sphero. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop the video because Desiree said the volume's not coming over. If you can, in the chat box, let me know how many of you are familiar with Spheros. And then that'll kind of gauge how we're going to do a couple of things with this. But one of the things that we found out, I'll tell you, Meredith, who is with us tonight, and then one of our other colleagues, Mitzi, and I all purchased Spheros on our own about a year and a half ago. And what's so cool about them, when we got them, they were fun. And we were, sending them, driving them all over the office and playing around with them. But that was about it. We were having a lot of fun with them. And so, I'll be honest with you, mine kind of just sat on a shelf for a little bit of time because I really wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. Wasn't sure about the educational value of it. And about that time was also when we were about to also embark on all the coding. Well, since then, we've learned a lot with a lot of what we do. And guys, one of the things, this little Sphero ball, basically what it does is it connects to a device via Bluetooth. That device can be Android-based or it can be Apple-based, so it will connect to an iPad or to an iPod Touch, or a phone, and you control it by the Bluetooth. And there's a ton of apps out there for Sphero. And actually, the Android store has more apps than the Apple store. But it's still so cool. And so what we do is we start out with kids and doing what we call non-coding activities. And what you can see right here is I recently went to, this is a 6th grade science class, and basically we do two things. The first thing we do is we start them out doing a introduction to how do you drive Sphero. And all we do is we lay out some targets, some bullseyes that I got from Walmart. And the kids use one of the apps to drive Sphero to the target, just so they can get a little practice. Well, then what the teacher did is I kind of taught that part. Then what she did is on the floor, it's hard for you to see, but these are all words that have to do with their test that they're about to take the next day. And what she did, she then had all the Spheros get in a line, and she would ask the question, and they would race Sphero to the correct answer. And the ones that got there first got a point. And then once all the Spheros were at that point, or at the answer, they would have a discussion to talk about why that was the correct answer, what made that right. If everybody didn't go to the same spot, she'd kind of get them to defend their answer. And so it became a very easy way to review. The other thing that I've done is I went into a 1st grade class and took the Spheros. Same thing, we did target practice first, and then what we did is we replaced the targets with the sight words from the reading story for that week. And the words were on paper, and I would call out the word, and the kids would race Sphero to the right word. And then we would say the word out loud. And it was really cool, and the teacher told me one of the kids in her 1st grade class that was just so awesome at driving the Sphero when we were doing the target practice, she said he was academically the weakest child in the class, and so when we moved to the academic part, they were in partners, and his little partner would lean into his ear and whisper to him where to go to drive it to the right word. And, you know, that kid just, you know, for that moment in time, he was able to beam and able to shine. And, you know, so those are kind of the first things we do with our Spheros, is we just give them that ability to just use the app, and it's not any coding. But then from there, we move into the next thing. Yeah. Yeah,
I was just going to interject real quick and say that this is also a good tool to use in physical education as well. We have an activity that we're working with the school where they have set up pretty much like their own made chutes and ladders game where they write different exercises, jumping jacks, or whatever, hula hoop, the things that they're doing in physical education, and they write the command on the sheet of paper, and they lay out the paper, they roll the dice, and the student groups drive Sphero to those spaces, and then the whole group has to do the activity. So it's a great tool for engaging students across all curriculum.
That's cool. That's super cool. That's neat. I like that idea. One of the other things that I thought about too, and I forgot to mention, there's so many apps out there that are with the still sticking to the non-coding. There's a Sphero Golf, and basically what you do is you design a golf course, and it can be, we've done it, and I should have put in pictures of it, and I forgot, like using masking tape and cones and things like that. And the kids actually, in the app, they actually get to swing and putt Sphero. And so again, we're seeing these devices being used. It's almost like there's no limit. Couple of other things to kind of tell you about Sphero. I know one, I can't believe nobody's asked how much is Sphero. Sphero, this one right here, the Spark Edition, typically runs about $129. They have been at a cheaper price. Recently they've been doing a promotion, and there's also a discount for a pack of 12. And so you kind of want to just look at the Spark edition of Sphero to see. I think at one time Spark edition of Sphero was down to like 89.95. So just a neat thing to do in your classroom. The other thing that we did, and so at Tech Camp, a couple of the things that we did, and remember that this was this summer, and so basically what we did is there are some apps that allow you to code, and two of our favorite ones are Lightning Lab and Macro Lab. And I want to say that this summer we didn't know much about Lightning Lab, and our kids used more along the lines of Macro Lab. And it basically, what it does is you put in the commands for Sphero, and then Sphero will do what you asked it to do. So a couple of the activities that we allowed our kids to do is we told them that they could code Sphero to do a line dance if they wanted to find another group with a Sphero, and program it to do a line dance to 30 seconds of a favorite song. Or another thing we did is we did what we called the Sphero's Daytona 500. And so what the kids did is they designed a track, as you can see right here, and then they had to write the commands for Sphero to navigate it. And you can see this track right here, this was revision 1, and they were like, they laid it out, and then they started to try to do the code. Well, the one thing they learned very quickly is 90-degree turns with Sphero programming is quite difficult. And so, guys, all this is masking tape from the dollar store. So that what we used to construct and build wasn't hard at all. And what I want to show you is a video from another group, and we may not have sound with it, but it'll be okay. So basically what you're about to see, and I should have clicked on it a few minutes earlier. Here we go. You're going to see their code that they wrote. So here's their track that they drew. Now, in a minute when the video starts, they're not driving Sphero, okay? They wrote the code, and basically on their iPod Touch, they push play, and Sphero's going to go around the track. So guys, there you saw, and it was just amazing to watch those kids do that. Now, the other thing to kind of let you know about the kids, we gave them, basically we did kind of with you guys, the way that we taught Sphero is we introduced it to them, and then basically what we said is we told them that they, we let them play an app at Tech Camp called, it was Sharky, which basically was augmented reality that turned your, when you looked at your Sphero through the app, it turned your Sphero into a beaver, and you went around and you collected coins. And so that was what was cool about it, was the fact that that's all we did. And then we jumped into coding, and we talked about coding for maybe 5-10 minutes, and we talked about the commands and what they needed, and then they went to town, and in about 40 minutes those boys wrote that code for Sphero to go to the racetrack, which was pretty amazing. So at this time, what we want to do is just kind of give you a couple of minutes to see if you have any questions, or if there's anything that we need to go back and take a couple of minutes to reevaluate or answer or elaborate on. Meredith, Angela, while some people are formulating any information that they want from us, is there anything else y'all want to add?
No, just that our email addresses are on the presentation and we have things hyperlinked. So if you get a chance to go to the presentation and explore some sites, and if you have any questions, you can always feel free to email us. We'll be happy to address any questions that we might be able to answer.
And guys, I'm glad you said that, Meredith. I forgot. I was going to share the link. I think I got the right link.
Oh, yeah, good.
I think I have it right. Y'all try it out while we have a couple of minutes. Pam is not always known as the best one to share the Google link.
I'll try to open it.
Okay.
Desiree says she can email everyone the link too.
Good deal.
Thank you, Desiree, for hosting. Thank you, Suresh.
Oh, thanks, Suresh.
Oh, thanks, Suresh. We'll see you tomorrow.
But I won't see you tomorrow. I won't see you tomorrow.
Angela.
I'll have to sneak over.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of
Definitely.
fun tomorrow. Yeah. Guys, for those of you who are wondering, we have a big fall training professional development tomorrow for some of our model classroom teachers. So we're pretty excited about that. But guys, coding, just to kind of wrap up, because we don't want to keep y'all, we know that everybody's busy. Coding, like we said from the beginning, is one of those things that if you would have asked me 2 or 3 years ago, would I be interested in it? Would it be something that I would want to get into? It really wasn't something that I thought would be in the course of my everyday day training. But as I even go into the regular classrooms and see things and see where it fits, I see that it's not something that just belongs in the enrichment classes. It's something that belongs in every classroom.
Okay, ladies, thank you so much. We are so honored and thrilled to have the CodeBusters here with us tonight. And just the amount of information you gave us was amazing. I mean, just thank you so much. If you were in the beginning of coding, you got that information. If you were in the middle, or even if you thought you were advanced, you still learned something. So thank you so much for hosting this webinar. Everyone, please make sure that you have signed in. I can't stress enough that that is how you're going to get the materials. That is how you're going to get your CLU certificate. And please fill out an evaluation. We want to know how awesome the CodeBusters were, and the information will be shared with them. So please go ahead and fill out an evaluation. Angela, Meredith, and Pam, you were amazing as always. And thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. If no one has any other questions or comments, we're going to go ahead and end the session. Thank you so much. I will send the link out to everyone for you to get this amazing presentation. Everyone have a great night.